Good morning, my dear students. I am Dr. Jayaprakash K, Professor of Forensic Medicine. Let me discuss on the questions of INICET November 2020. Question number 1. Cause of death in freshwater drowning could be number 1. Dilutional hyponatremia. Number 2. Hemodilution. Number 3. Decrease in potassium. Number 4. Disruption of pulmonary surfactant. And number 5. Arrhythmia. Let me briefly discuss about various causes of death in case of wet drowning. As you know very well, there are two types of water, fresh water as well as salt water. Whether it is fresh water or salt water, once water enters into the lungs and into the alveoli, person may die because of disruption of pulmonary surfactant. Remember, number 1 cause of death, whether it is salt water or fresh water, disruption of pulmonary surfactant. Now, coming to the freshwater drowning. In freshwater drowning, as well as saltwater drowning, the mechanism what takes place is osmosis. Osmosis means water enters from higher and lower concentration to higher concentration. In freshwater drowning, salinity of the blood is more than fresh water. So what happens here? Water enters into the lung. From the lungs, because of osmosis, water enters into blood. Once it enters into blood, there will be hemodilution. Once there is hemodilution, there is swelling of RBCs. Once the RBCs are swollen, it breaks. Hemolysis, which gave rise to release of potassium from RBC, that gave rise to a condition called hyperkalemia. Once there is hyperkalemia, then it gave rise to ventricular fibrillation, that means cardiac arrhythmia, and person may die in about 4 to 5 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes, that is a mechanism in case of freshwater drowning. What exactly happens in saltwater drowning is exactly opposite to freshwater drowning. In freshwater drowning, as you see here, water from the lungs enter into blood, but in saltwater, water from blood enters into lungs. That gave rise to pulmonary edema. Of course, pulmonary edema is there even in case of fresh water, but it is more in saltwater drowning. Once water comes out from the bloodstream, then it gives rise to hemoconcentration. Once there is hemoconcentration, because the quantity of the blood is less, the existing sodium is same, so it gives rise to hypernatremia. Because what happens here? Hemoconcentration, so that automatically gives rise to hypernatremia. The hypernatremia cause bradycardia, and bradycardia gives rise to cardiac arrest, and person may die in about 8 to 12 minutes. 8 to 12 minutes. Now, if you see here, again, I repeat, there is hemodilution in case of fresh water. There is hyperkalemia. At the same time, cardiac arrhythmia in the form of ventricular fibrillation. Once there is hemodilution, there is hyponatremia. Whereas in salt water, there is hemoconcentration that gave rise to hypernatremia. If at all you ask me what happens to sodium concentration in case of fresh water, because of hemodilution, there will be hyponatremia. Okay. And disruption of the pulmonary surfactant in both salt water as well as fresh water. Now, coming back to the question, what is the cause of death in case of freshwater drowning? Number 1, as I said, dilutional hyponatremia. Correct. Number 2, hemodilution. Yes. Freshwater, hemodilution. Saltwater, hemoconcentration. Decrease in potassium. Wrong. That is wrong because it gave rise to hypernatremia. Disruption of pulmonary surfactant is seen in both saltwater as well as freshwater drowning. So that is right. Arrhythmia in the form of ventricular fibrillation. Answer is 1, 2, 4 and 5 are. I hope all of you understood properly. Okay? Okay. Now, look at the picture. What is the cause of this condition? Electrical injury, abrasion collar, powder tattooing, shotgun wound. Always, many people get confused between powder tattooing and shotgun injuries. Not between electrical injury and abrasion collar. Anyway, let me discuss all four. In electrical burn, the injury at the point of entry is known as Joule burn, Joule, Joule burn or endogenous burn. Okay, you can forget about this because that is not the answer in the given image is different. Okay. Number 2, abrasion collar is seen in rifle firearm wound around the wound of entry. As you see in this picture, you can see abrasion collar. Abrasion collar is circular in case of perpendicular entry of the bullet. Whereas, if the bullet enters tangentially, say for example, a person is in the ground floor, he shoots at a person who is in the first floor, then it enters tangentially, then the abrasion collar look egg-shaped. Okay, you can rule out both these in this given question and the image. What exactly you see here is centrally you can see a wound of entry surrounded by punctate small holes. That is known as tattooing or peppering. Why the peppering is due to? Once the gunpowder is burnt, some amount is burnt totally, 100% of the powder burns that give rise to soot formation as well as smoke that give rise to blackening over the clothing or the skin. Whereas some amount is partially burned, some amount is unburned. This partially burnt and unburned particles just penetrates into epidermis, get embedded into the dermis. The condition is known as powder tattooing. Powder tattooing. Or sometimes you also call it a powder stippling or peppering. And here it is, the size is very small, not like pellet wounds in case of shotgun wound of entry. That I will show you later. Now, in this picture, see the previous picture what you have seen here, you can see only the wound of entry surrounded by tattooing. That means it is intermediate short or intermediate range because there is no blackening. Whereas in this picture, you can see the tattooing. At the same time, you can see the blackening around the wound of entry. That means it is near short. It is near short. Okay. Now you see here. Now you see multiple wounds of entry and you see the size clearly. Size is not as small as you see in case of powder tattooing. The size is somewhat bigger. And you know, in the pellets, maybe dust shot normally they don't use, but usually they use the bird shot. And the bird shot wound of entry, you can see multiple wounds of entry, but you can differentiate between powder tattooing from shotgun wound of entry. You can see the size. At the same time, here you don't see the main wound of entry. Whereas in case of powder stippling, there will be wound of entry surrounded by tattooing. But here you see only multiple wounds of entry that is seen in case of distant range. Beyond the range of 4 meters on an average, you can see multiple wounds of entry. On an average, in case of shotgun wounds, up to 2 meters, you see a single wound of entry because all the pellets come as a single mass. You give rise to a single wound of entry. From 2 to 4 meters, that range is known as intermediate range in shotgun. You can see a main wound of entry surrounded by multiple small wounds of entry known as satellite wounds. So what you see here is, in this picture is main wound of entry with satellite wound. Here it is a distant range. There are multiple wounds of entry. See the size is bigger. Don't get confused between powder tattooing. Again, I show you the powder tattooing. Later, you see here, this is the picture what you have given in the exam. There are multiple wounds of entry spread all over the back as well as back of the arm also we can see. At the same time, you can see the difference between tattooing and shotgun wound of entry. Okay. Now you got the answer. What is the cause of this condition shown in the image? And this is shotgun wound. Shotgun wound. Okay. Identify the condition shown in the image. Identify the condition. You can see the venous pattern. The greenish in color in this particular picture, greenish color, it looks like the venous pattern. Why? Because once the person dies, later, because of the activity of the bacteria, putrefaction starts. When putrefaction starts, it liberates so many different types of gases, especially hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide combines with hemoglobin, sulf-meth-hemoglobin. Sulf-meth-hemoglobin. The sulf-meth-hemoglobin stains the walls of superficial veins. That is known as marbling. The marbling commences in about 24 hours but becomes prominent in about 36 to 48 hours. That means marbling is noticed in about 36 after 36 hours. It starts at 24 hours but become prominent from 36 to 48 hours. Okay. Now we can see this. See, initially it is somewhat reddish brown, later it becomes greenish. So now here it is somewhat reddish brown and later it becomes greenish. But here, students will not get confused from marbling from hypostasis. Hypostasis means postmortem lividity. Postmortem lividity, all of you know, this is somewhat bluish or bluish purple discoloration on the dependent areas of the body. It is uniform in nature. At the same time, poisoning. No poisoning will give rise to this venous pattern. Okay. Now, confusion between filigree burns and marbling. Definitely, I think if you are watching my video, definitely your confusion is between only two. That is marbling and filigree burns. How exactly to differentiate? Look here. Now I am showing you an image of marbling as well as filigree burns. Filigree burns, also known as arborescent marks or keranographic burns or Lichtenberg flower marks. Here, it is due to the rupture of the RBCs along the path of the electric current. Rupture of the RBCs along the path of the electric current, and it gives rise to branches of tree-like appearance. You see the difference? Marbling, venous pattern, it is marbled appearance or mosaic appearance or marbled appearance. It is not branches of tree-like appearance. Whereas arborescent marks are always branches of tree-like appearance as you see in this picture. And the lines are very, very thinner lines. The branches of tree pattern is thinner. But whereas marbling, it is thicker. At the same time, to make you clear, I will show you other images also. Now, definitely no, this is not a filigree burn. This is a marbling. Okay. Whereas you see here a black and white photo, branches of tree-like appearance, that is filigree burns. Again, you can see branches of tree-like appearance, filigree burns, filigree burns. So, first one is marbling, remaining all three pictures are filigree burns. Okay. Now, you got the answer. Identify the condition shown in the image. The answer is marbling. Answer is marbling. A 30-year-old girl has been brought to casualty department by her parents with an alleged history of sexual assault by a 22-year-old male. Her age is 13 years. Child. Parents refuse for medical examination. What should be the doctor to do in such situation? Less than 12 years, doctor cannot do even general physical examination. 12 to 18, only general physical examination which exclude pervaginal and parectal examination. After 18, a person himself or herself can give consent. Here it is 13 years. Here it is not mentioned whether girl is ready to give consent. Even girl is ready to give consent. You cannot do pervaginal, parectal examination or examination of the private parts. Parents has to give consent, but parents refused. What you are supposed to do? Now, let me discuss later about start treatment for STD and pregnancy because it is confusing for many of the students. Let me discuss on that because your options given also, all these are recollected from the students. Okay, let me discuss on that. As per POCSO Act 2012, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, any person, whether it is a doctor or non-doctor, anybody comes to know a child has been assaulted sexually in any form, he has to inform the police. He has to inform the police. Whoever it is our duty to inform the police. Many times people think only as per POCSO Act you have to inform. No, even it is more than 18 also. As per section 357C of Criminal Procedure Code, once we come across a victim of rape or sexual assault, we have to inform the police. So remember that. So information of the process is first. Now, patient party is not ready to give consent. But what is the proof? Tomorrow they may say we are consented. That's why you have to record on document informed refusal. So that means you have to document about refusal of the consent. That is also very important. Take vaginal sample. How can you take vaginal sample? They themselves are not ready to give consent for medical examination. You cannot. Start medical examination. No, unless their consent, you cannot start medical examination. What about start treatment for STD and pregnancy? See, there are two schools of thought. Number one school of thought. One, without examination, how can you start treatment? That is the first question. Of course, even in these options, it is not mentioned. Only 2 and 3 are right. The options are not there, of course. Okay. Number two, what you are supposed to give? Start treatment for pregnancy. Maximum you can see eye pill you can give. Prevention of STD, you can give some antibiotic. Even if a person comes, even I have cough or whatever it is, you may give antibiotic. So what I feel personally, even without examination in this case, thinking about the welfare of the patient, you can start with treatment for STD and pregnancy. You're not giving any other hi-fi treatment for that. Okay. And even in the option, they say only 1, 2, 3 are true. Now, if at all there is an option where only 2 and 3 are right, then of course that also could be right. But I tell you clearly, we don't know what is there in examiner's mind. Most of the time, all these questions may not be very straightforward. Okay. Now you got the answer. Number 5, match the following. Number 1, lathi or rod or stick, pipe, any such longitudinal objects. Once you hit on a person, there will be invagination of the skin, displacement of the blood from the capillaries to the periphery. Maximum invagination takes place at the periphery and it may get ruptured and give rise to two parallel linear bruises with central pale area known as tram line bruise or railway line bruise. Tram line bruise or railway line bruise. So Lottie causes tram line bruise or railway line bruise. A4. RTA. In road traffic accident, if a pedestrian or a two-wheeler rider, pillion rider or middle rider sometime, if they fall on the ground, broad surface of the skin grazes against broad rough surface of the road that gave rise to graze abrasion. Graze abrasion. Blade, maybe surgical blade or razor blade. If you take a blade and cut your skin, if you pass across the body, because of the sharp margin, and also sharp blade, it cuts the skin. Margins are regular, edges are not contused, neurovascular bundles are not intact. It gave rise to a wound called incise wound. You can see in this picture, margins are regular, edges are not contused, all the structures are cut neatly. At the same time, axe is a sharp cutting heavy weapon. Sharp cutting heavy weapon. Once you take an axe and hit on the body, there is invagination of the skin. The sharp blade cuts the skin. Margins are regular. But once there is invagination, edges of the skin come in contact with the side of the axe. And it may give rise to contusion at the edges. Such wounds are known as chop wounds. Sometimes they call it also as cut laceration. But chop wound is a better word. So, A4, B1, C2, D3. Okay. Middle end of the clavicle is fused. All the parts of the body of sternum are fused. The age of the individual is less than 18, 18 to 22, 22 to 25, more than 35 years. So, what is the answer? Let me discuss important points on ossification center appearance and fusion in these two bones, that is sternum and sternum is made up of three parts. Number 1, manubrium. Number 2, body. Number 3, xiphisternum. Manubrium, the primary center, appears at the age of 5th month of intrauterine life. Intrauterine. Body is made up of 4 pieces. First piece, second piece, third piece, fourth piece, which appears at the age of 5th month, 7th month, 7th month, 10th month. 5, 5, 7, 7, 10. 5, 5, 7, 7, 10. Xiphisternum appears at the age of 3 years. 4 pieces of the body start fusing from below upwards at the age of 15, 20, 25. Now you got the answer. The body of the sternum becomes a single piece at the age of 25 years. For additional information, I tell you, xiphisternum fuses with the body at the age of 40 years and manubrium fuses with the body in old age. Now coming to the clavicle, one important question always they ask. The shaft is the first ossification center to appear. When? 5th to 6th week of intrauterine life. Shaft is the first ossification center to appear in the body at 5th or 6th week. Then, the inner end means medial end is last ossification center to appear at 18 to 20 years. At the same time, it is last ossification center to fuse at the age of 25 years. 25 years. Now, you know, medial end of the clavicle means inner end of the clavicle fuses at the age of 25 years. Meantime, the sternum, the body, becomes a single piece at the age of 25 years. Medial end of the clavicle is fused more than 25. All the parts of the sternum are fused more than 25. So answer is more than 25. Match the following columns. Quinine. Quinine, anti-malarial drug. At the same time, it is used as an abortifacient agent. Generally, for criminal abortion, they divide the drugs under two headings. Number one, ecbolics. 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 What are the ecbolics? In Narayan Reddy book, he says most commonly used ecbolic is ergot. Ergot. Pituitary extract. Quinine. Cotton root bark. Lead oleate pills, that is known as diachylon pills. All these are abortifacient agents. So, quinine, 4, abortifacient. Chloral hydrate is a sedative and hypnotic, which is a white crystalline powder. This is a stupefying agent. Generally, they say there are 3 drugs which are generally known as stupefying agent which give rise to stupor. That is datura, cannabis and chloral hydrate. Datura, cannabis and chloral hydrate. These 3 are stupefying agent. Zinc. Irritants are classified organic, inorganic, mechanical irritants. Organic irritants are again subclassified as animal origin, plant origin. Inorganic irritants are again subclassified as metallic, non-metallic. Then mechanical irritants, third one. Now, zinc is inorganic irritant, metallic irritant. So, zinc chloride is an irritant poison. Zinc is known to give rise to metal fume fever because melting the metals always give rise to fumes. Inhalation of the fumes give rise to a condition called metal fume fever or foundry fever or Monday fever, where you get fever, chills and malaise, which mimics malaria. Strong alkalis, strong acids are corrosives. Corrosives may be strong acids like sulfuric acid, hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, even hydrofluoric acid, even boric acid. Strong alkalis like sodium bicarbonate, potassium carbonate, potassium bicarbonate, ammonia, all these are corrosives. So, now you got the answer A4, B1, C2, D3. Now coming to the next question. Match the antidote to the poison. Ethylene glycol is used as coolant. It is used as coolant in vehicles. It is also known as antifreeze agent. Antifreeze agent. Ethylene glycol is an alcohol derivative. Ethylene glycol is metabolized by alcohol dehydrogenase into glycoaldehyde and glycolic acid. Fomepizole inhibits alcohol dehydrogenase. Fomepizole inhibits alcohol dehydrogenase. So, fomepizole is given as an antidote in case of ethylene glycol as well as, you know very well, methyl alcohol. Methyl alcohol. See, other one is ethyl alcohol is also given as antidote, but best is fomepizole. So, A3 is the best answer. I said the best answer, you know why? That is because one of the metabolic end product of ethylene glycol is oxalic acid. Oxalic acid gives rise to hypocalcemia. So, calcium gluconate also can be given in case of ethylene glycol. But main antidote is fomepizole. Hydrofluoric acid give rise to severe throbbing pain. In addition to that, there will be acidosis, hypocalcemia, hypomagnesemia, and hyperkalemia. It called hypocalcemia, hypomagnesemia, hyperkalemia, and acidosis. To counteract hypocalcemia and hyperkalemia, antidote is heparin. Antidote is protamine sulfate. This is actually clubbed with the forensic medicine as well as pharmacology, because in forensic we deal with ethylene glycol and hydrofluoric acid only two. The pharmacology people deal with heparin as well as valproate. Valproate is known to give rise to hyperammonemia with encephalopathy. To counteract the hyperammonemia with encephalopathy, levocarnitine is the drug of choice. Levocarnitine is the drug of choice. So now you got the answer A3B4C1D2. Last question. A 22 years old female was found dead in her house. The following are the images of the dead body on external and internal examination. What is the cause of death? Hanging, strangulation, drowning, traumatic asphyxia. I show you the photo one by one. To say hanging, there should be ligature mark. To say drowning, there is lung findings will be there, not in the neck. Traumatic asphyxia, heavy object, say for example, heavy object over the chest, or an elephant sitting on the chest, a lorry, or any vehicle, or a railway bogie falling over the chest. Sudden gushing of the blood into the head and neck. Multiple petechial hemorrhages you can see. Cyanosis. And once you remove the obstruction, you can see a clear-cut line of demarcation, that is traumatic asphyxia. But here, you can, of course, by looking here only, you can rule out traumatic asphyxia, because there is no clear-cut demarcation with cyanosis and multiple petechial hemorrhages above the level of constriction. Drowning, absolutely no findings in the neck and all. In case of drowning, findings you see the nostrils, the froth, fine, white, copious amount of froth coming out from the mouth and nostrils. Even trachea, you can see the froth. Lungs also edematous, that findings are not here. Hanging, ligature mark not there. Anyway, I don't know, all the pictures may look very small. I will enlarge the picture and see. In case of whenever person compresses over the neck with the hand, it may give rise to multiple bruises over the neck. Multiple bruises over the neck. Usually known as, if it is small bruises, it is known as sixpenny bruises. But here you can see bruises over the neck. That goes in favor of manual strangulation. Manual strangulation. You can see petechial hemorrhage. Petechial hemorrhages means size less than 2 millimeter. Ecchymosis means size more than 2 millimeter. 2 to 5 millimeter ecchymosis. You can see subconjunctival ecchymosis as well as petechial hemorrhages. It is a general sign of asphyxia. Any asphyxia death, you may see this. Okay. You can see fracture of superior horn of thyroid cartilage. Superior horn of thyroid cartilage. That is usually seen in case. Next structure, extensive bruising in the strap muscles. Wherever there is sixpenny bruises or any bruises, underneath there will be extensive bruising on the neck structure. All this goes in favor of manual strangulation or throttling. But now the question asked is, the option given, hanging, strangulation, drowning, traumatic asphyxia, they are not specifically mentioned whether it is ligature strangulation or manual strangulation. Only strangulation is given. Ligature strangulation means you can see a ligature mark, but ligature mark is not there. This is mainly manual strangulation or throttling. So best answer here is strangulation. I hope all of you understood clearly. about the questions, options and discussion, and I hope you are happy. Don't be just happy. Meantime, with your happy mood, study for your examination and be cool while studying, because don't take any stress in your exam. Of course, in your life also, you should be always very, very cool and happy like me. Okay? Bye bye. All the best.